Hello and welcome to Walk the Talk. I am back at St. Stephen's College. My guest today, obviously a famous old alum of the college, but somebody not easy to describe, because what do we call NK Singh, Nandu to friends? We can't call you an evergreen whatever, a timeless whatever, a man for all seasons. We just have to call you NK Singh or Nandu. So,
good to see you.
Civil servant, economist, policy maker, politician, and now heading the 15th Finance Commission, deciding how the federal division of India's finances will be.
Broadly, that is what the 15th Finance Commission is about.
Right.
Deciding out of the total divisible revenue, what's called vertical, how much the central government can keep and how much the state governments can go. And within the state governments, what state government gets what.
And you have a double history at St. Stephen's College. You were a student here and you taught here.
That's true. I studied exactly what I taught. I did my honors in economics. Then I did my masters from...
Good times, you didn't need 99.99% to get in.
Yes. And then I did my masters from Delhi School of Economics, where all these Jagdish, Kendra, Chamartya, all these people. I came back to St. Stephen's to teach economics,
Right.
the first year student, yes.
So must bring back many memories.
Oh yes, these classrooms, the sort of places, my own room, which remains more or less the same, and the place where I got the tutor's quarter, one in the Rudra South and one in the...
Colleges don't change. I went back to mine in deep Haryana, and I went to my old zoology lab.
Oh.
It's the same as it used to be. In fact, I still think that the same shark that I used to know in a formalin jar is sitting there. I think by this time it's become a fossil. Should be of some value. So it should go to geology lab now. So colleges don't change.
That's so extraordinary. I mean, that's why I think that recording this here in some ways is nostalgic,
Yes.
and brings back many memories of decades gone by.
So of all the things you've done so far in government, both as a civil servant and intellectual, and in the middle as a politician, where do you rank your current position, Chairman, 15th Finance Commission? My not very well informed mind would say, it's a sinecure.
Well, I mean, one can take any cynical view one likes, but the fact remains that perhaps I have occupied no other position in this long sort of trajectory, which has more in a certain sense, more direct meaning and content to actual decision making as this. Because, you know, look at the fact, Shekhar, that this is the body, and the body is under the Constitution, under Article 280 of the Constitution. The President shall appoint and so on. And it's a body which functions like a court. That also is part of the Act. It functions like a civil court. And it receives, therefore, the submissions made to the Commission by all the so-called people who would be interested in getting resources. First and foremost, the central government. Second, each state government. Then municipalities and local body. And then, of course, it also decides whether it wants to give a grants in aid to any state which has got serious revenue deficiencies.
So would you say, because the Commission has changed its role from 14th onwards, I think even before that, because India has become a more federal country, would you say that it used to be a sinecure, but no longer?
No, it never was a sinecure. It never was a sinecure. But where you are right is that this is the first finance commission which has come into play after the abolition of the planning commission and after the abolition of the distinction, which in some people regard as a false distinction between plan and non-plan. And therefore, this is the first time that it will take the entire revenue.
So explain for us non-finance economics people, biology graduates, what is plan and non-plan? I know I'm idiot-proofing it, but there are idiots like me.
No. This is, I think, a very legitimate question. A plan expenditure usually is those kinds of expenditure which used to form part of the 5-year plans go through an approval process in the Planning Commission, then get approved in the Department of Expenditure and the Ministry of Finance, and was largely towards capital creating assets expenditure. Non-plan largely goes towards maintenance of assets. So in a sense, therefore, that maintenance of asset never went to Planning Commission. The non-plan was decided by the Ministry of Finance, particularly the Department of Expenditure.
And plan goes with the Planning Commission.
And plan was with the Planning Commission. So in fact, one of the very interesting dissent notes written in an earlier Finance Commission by one economist, left-wing economist, Bhavatosh Datta, actually even Y.B. Chauhan, when he was head of
Finance Minister.
When he was chairman of the Finance Commission.
I see.
8th Finance Commission was headed by Y.B. Chauhan. And even at that time, the worry was Planning Commission is tripping on the legitimate roles of the Finance Commission. This is the first Finance Commission without that kind of shackles which the Planning Commission had imposed on all earlier Finance Commissions.
So, you made news immediately, because the immediate thing is Chandrababu Naidu's revolt, saying I want special status which has been denied to me, and Arun Jaitley saying, but the last Finance Commission has said there can't be special status. But Congress is saying on the other hand that it's possible.
Well, yes, that is the fact, what you have stated,
right.
That one of the grievance of Chandrababu Naidu is that contrary to an assurance given by the then Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh on the floor of the House at the time of the reorganization of the Andhra Pradesh, he did say that to the government...
When the state was split and Telangana was split.
Yeah, Telangana was made, that we will give to the new state of Andhra Pradesh the benefits of a special category status. Now, you probably want to know what is this damned animal.
Right.
So this animal, for the first time, Shekhar, was created in April 1969, when the so-called Gadgil formula was being considered by a resolution of the National Development Council. And what did it do at that time? Out of the 17 states, 4 were in the general category, 3 were special category. The special category were J&K, Assam and Nagaland. Subsequently, when many of the newer states were formed, they also got similar kind of a treatment. So now you have, of course, the entire northeastern states, which got subsequently created. You have, of course, the 2 hill states of Uttarakhand and Himachal, which were subsequently decided upon. So that quite a few states now have this special. Now, what does the benefit imply? Why do people seek a special category status? Why Babu's trying for a special category status? Well, for 2 reasons. First, in the general category states, when for all centrally sponsored schemes known as the CSS, you get 70%, now 60% by way of loan, earlier it used to be 70, 30% grant. In the case of special category, you get 90% grant and 10% loan. So it gives a additional financial resource and a greater headroom.
So where does it leave Andhra Pradesh and Chandrababu Naidu?
Now I'm just coming to that in a second. So Andhra Pradesh was hoping that since it's a new state, it will get the same benefit. By the way, the special category states also have huge tax breaks.
Right.
They get tax breaks for
Yes.
excise.
Yeah, that's why all the pharma industries moved to the foothills.
Exactly. So he was hoping to get those tax breaks to attract industry, to attract investment, and he was hoping to get also some additional money out of the devolution of 90-10 formula, which is what had been promised to him, and he feels that he has been denied that. Now, the finance minister is truthful when he says that the 14th Finance Commission did not want to continue, although it never abolished. What it said that we have chosen not to have this distinction between special category and others, but to approach the fiscal problems of each state, and each state requires a separate system.
So that window is available?
No, because I can only address those elements which are in my terms of reference. And in my terms of reference, Shekhar, special category business is not in my terms. Not in my terms.
So it's an impossibility.
Unless really the terms of reference the president chooses to alter those terms of reference, that's another story. But at the moment,
can the executive do it? Can the cabinet do it? Change of terms of reference, or does it have to go to parliament?
Cabinet can do it.
Cabinet can do it. So
cabinet can do it, and of course it comes to us as a presidential.
Yeah. So then the question that Chandrababu Naidu will raise: if cabinet can do it, why don't you do it?
or that's for the cabinet to consider.
Yeah.
I mean that's.
So it is not an impossibility.
We are a recipient.
So it is not an impossibility.
Of course, it is not an impossibility for us to consider, provided our terms of reference are altered.
Changed. But it's not an impossibility that the terms can be changed.
In earlier finance commissions also, some new items have been added,
right.
so on and so forth.
So it can be done.
So I mean, that is for the government to consider.
Right. So that's a good point. I bet Chandrababu Naidu will take note of it.
You mean he will start now all his ability to try and...
Yeah, he will say, if you guys can do it, why don't you do it? It just takes one mention in a cabinet meeting.
But by the way, it has serious implications. Andhra is not the only claimant.
Your state is a strong
Telangana,
Bihar.
Orissa, Bihar, Jharkhand are also claimants.
But does Babu bother about the other states?
But other states bother.
They do
that you cannot have a differential policy.
So this
and by the way, one of the things that certainly the Finance Commission has been doing in the past and will continue to do, that look at something called the index of backwardness. Because one of the areas where the Finance Commission in the past have given marks for extra devolution is based on the backwardness of the states. And there, Bihar and Odisha, by the way, in the last backwardness stuff was the bottom of the pyramid. Now we have said we will get based on fresh data, maybe fresh parameters, but certainly would like to have a robust study. Let me tell you this. I think that the Finance Minister is being very, very fair when he says that whatever, Babu, you lost in terms of the financial part for not getting it, I'm giving you more than that. So he should be interested in the extra financial resources, isn't it? And this could be true of others also, that whatever you... But I think that here I suspect in terms of Mr. Babu's own statement, that he would argue that this is an area where politics could have trumped economics. And the economics of this would point in the direction of what the Finance Minister is saying, that I am giving you much more than you would have got.
Yes.
Than you in return.
Yes.